I sure hope I tell that story today because I wrote something really different. And I started writing this, I think, a week and a half ago. And, and then I wrote it, and it was done. And then I was going to practice it on Thursday. But then I recently dumped my boyfriend, so I was, on cruising on the date lines, just busy doing that. I was like, oh, this is way more fun than writing this talk. So, whatever. So today I started practicing the talk, and in the middle of practicing, I'm timing myself, right? And I'm practicing, and I was like, oh my God, this is so boring. I am so bored with my talk. I've heard my talk so many times. So, and I was also going to try something new today, which is not read from a script. So this is pretty good. I've upgraded, which I feel a little bit of an amateur-like, because the three of you, wherever you are, did yours with absolutely no script, just like, wow, good job. But I will use my card today, and we'll see how it goes. I'm curious. So in 2002, my ex said to me, "You have gender issues." And I barked, "No, I don't," which really was an automatic way that I used to and have for a long time, always answered everything, because I was always so indignant, always rebellious, always, had to be right about something, always fighting back. And I didn't even understand at all what she meant by gender issues. By that time, also, I had been practicing a really good, strong Buddhist practice. So I was like, oh, you're doing that thing, okay, fine. Breathe it in, breathe it out. I'm really irritated with this question. I feel uncomfortable. I'm really mad, but something's going on, right? So I said, okay, just breathe it in, breathe it out, just be okay. And so after that, I was okay. I was like, okay, this is uncomfortable. So then I asked, what does that mean? Tell me more. That was the beginning of my transition in action. Couple of years before that, I was walking down the street, and in a deja vu kind of mistiness moment, I felt like I entered this portal. And it was like my soul said to me, stop, I've got something to tell you right now. It is very, very important. You've never, ever listened to this shit before, so listen. And I said, okay, fine, whatever. So I listened, right? And here's my little me here, and it's my big me up there telling me, you are entering the next stage of your life. You have never done this part before. You have lived many lives before, but this never. It's going to be crazy, it's going to be weird, it's going to be fantastic. So I asked and I said, wow, okay. Well, Jesus died when he was 33 years old. That was the next phase of his life is death, right? So that was like automatically, maybe that's what's going to happen. So Jesus died when he was 33 years old, and I'm going to be 33 years old. So I wonder if I'm going to die. So 2002 was the year of new awakenings for me in the world of gender. And a friend from Toronto, he was the first trans guy I was ever to meet in my whole life. We sat down for tea, and the whole time I was trembling and freaking out. I was panicking, my heart was beating, and I was so cold, I was shivering, and at the same time I was curious. I was mesmerized and scared at the same time. And honestly, this is an emotion that in my 50 years of living, I have never felt this crazy, scary feeling of fear and excitement. Sitting in front of me was what was possible. I had no idea anything was up for me until I met him. And when I left, on leaving him, I said, well, who am I then? Am I just a masculine dyke? Who really am I? My assigned gender at birth was female, and I never really thought very much about it. I was born in Singapore, and I was told that I had to be a girl. And I was never that kind of girl they all thought that I should be, right? So it's, you know, your normal kind of thing. You go to church, you have to wear a dress, and you have to sit a certain way, you have to talk a certain way. And, you know, I said, so people just called me a tomboy. It didn't matter, because really, I didn't really care. I didn't relate to girl to what people said girls should be. But at the end of it, I was just me. I've always just been me. Now, this was Singapore, not the super first world city that you all know of, like it was featured in, what, Crazy Rich Asians, right? It's like, where was that Singapore? That's a cool Singapore. But no, that's not the Singapore I was brought up in. It was a super hot and grimy, slimy, dirty, chickens still running on the street, you know, monsoon weather. The school would always get flooded out, and we'd go to school, you know, barefoot and wade through the water. And that was Singapore in the 1970s. I'd be running around barefoot. And it was an awesome time for me. And at the same time, being born as a girl, there was all these things I was supposed to do and not supposed to do. I always knew that I wasn't that girl they said I should be. So fast forward 20 years or so later, after leaving Singapore, I was in couples counseling with my ex, and the counselor said to me, so have you ever considered having a sex change? And I'd never thought of this before, right? And I said, and I wonder, I wonder what that would be like. So I teach gender as a choice. Gender as a choice because gender is not who you are. You're not man, you're not woman. You're not masculine, you're not feminine. You just are. And your gender is what you wear, how you dress, how you sit, how you eat, how you relate to people, how you talk. It's just expression. So I teach transcendence of gender. So whenever I'm asked by people, so when is the first time you knew that you were trans? I tell them, I have never ever known I was trans. I just use the word trans because that's the English word that you use now to describe a certain kind of being. But I just am who I am. I am being. When I was young, I thought it very odd that the world we lived in had two kinds of people. One was called man, and one was called woman. It was very strange for me. I didn't really understand that because I was always clear, I'm just me. And now I have to be one or the other. And I was told I was one, and I was like, well, there's a whole bunch of other me's going on, but now they're in this other, which I cannot be because I'm not called a boy. So I didn't really understand why planet Earth people did this thing. Why they had two categories when there was a mass consciousness of people moving and living and, you know, experiencing and talking and singing and behaving in so many different ways, and why there was only two kinds. I asked this question for a very long time. And people who are close to me, yeah, Christine, dear friend of mine, you know how pissed off I get so often, right? When somebody says something, I just go, ugh! And I always have to remember that's where we are at, on planet Earth at this time. There's always more to expand into, always more to grow into, but for me, I have to maintain the ability to be curious about what next we are expanding into. Otherwise, I just get righteous and angry, and then I hate everybody, and then I want to kill myself, and I want to kill you, and I get so mad about the world that we live in. Now, if I was curious, then I would probably be a lot more friendly to you, much happier with you. We'll all get along a lot better. So for me, being curious has been crucial for my sense of humor, yes, and for my ability to continue sticking around and being with people as humans continue to evolve. Curiosity is what I call childlike wonderment. Now, I'm going to show you a card that is really valuable for me. This is actually the first card in my deck of cards. It's called Salt. It is the card of curiosity. For me, this is the first card of the deck because without curiosity, you are not available to new realms. Curiosity about childlike wonderment. It's the ability to ask why. It's not like you, Allison, but the ability to wonder why. What is next? What can be possible? What's over there? What kind of world would that be like? What would that feel like? How would that, resonate with me? That kind of questions. Because when we ask those questions, you suddenly step into that world of what is possible rather than, oh, yeah, right, it's going to go this way. As Winston was saying, we'll just go the same way. Everybody will just go the same way. We'll all act the same way. We'll all talk to people the same way. But when you are able to say, wow, I wonder what you have to tell me. Now, as a racialized person, as a person of color, and now as a trans person, I'm very used to how people look at me. And I'm used now to how people, through the years of my gender stuff, in the years of being what we call the ugly ducking phase, where you're not really sure what people are, I'm used to how people read me and the isolation that happens when we aren't being with soul in front of us because we are not being curious about who is there behind those eyes. Or am I just going to assume brown woman must mean something, right? White guy, must mean something. And we come in with all our point of views and all our perspectives. And we never get to know who is sitting right there in front of me. Now, when we can add gender into this picture, white man, not just white, now you're a man. Now I've decided the whole world about you, and then I talk to that person as though I already know who you are, and I never ever let you tell me who you are. When we're curious, I suddenly got to know you, which is beautiful, because that's being connected. Now, that was not at all in any of this. So I'm going to have to dump some cards here. We'll see. We'll just throw them on the floor and see what happens. I do want to tell you about when I did transition in 2002. So when I did transition in 2002, I did not choose to transition out of hatred for my body. I did not choose to transition because I thought there was something wrong with me, or as they normally call it, I did not transition because I thought I was born into the wrong body. I'm just me. My body is just a bunch of meat, muscles, nerves, skin, tissues. And for me, my body is just this physical being that I get to live in. It never really meant anything else. And I was always curious why people had so much associations and meanings associated with their body. Why is language such that you got this body and so we're going to call it woman? Why has English language said, you got this body, it's got a form of this and a form of that, it kind of looks almost like that, now we're just going to call it a man. And now, because of that, you now have to do all these things, and you cannot do all these things, and there's no way you can ever be the other one or act like the other one. Now, we live in a more gender fluid time now, which is really cool. And the binary still exists. So in order to really see more behind the facade of this so-called gender thing, we've got to really start like understanding that that's all just preconceived notions and past point of views, right? So without the curiosity, we just get stuck in assuming that's who you are based on what I think you are, or what history says you are, or what language says you are. So when I transitioned, I didn't transition because there was something wrong with my body. I simply was like, there's something else for me to do. My body has been supposed to say all these things, and I want to do something new. I wonder what I could be like if I did not live in a world which said I had to be a woman. There was something way more available for me. And so I transitioned. See, my time is up. Even tell the fun parts. How much time can you let me go on for? One story. Great. I get that. One really fun thing about transitioning, it was really awful. I'll tell you, the whole thing was fucking awful. Apart from transitioning, itself, but being a pioneer, I am the first Asian trans man. I had to deal with all sorts of other, intersectionalities. There was a lot less Asians at that time. The mainland Chinese hadn't all moved over here yet. So there was less bodies of my color, and my race at that time. So transitioning in a really white kind of system was ridiculous. I hated myself because, I looked at all my white guy trans buddies who were transitioning, and there was a very small group of us at that point, right? It might have been like 10. And all of them were white, and there was me. And there was one First Nations guy. And I'd see my white trans guys all, sprouting fur and, getting hairy. And we were all told by psychiatrists what it was going to be like and all that. And the psychiatrist would say to me, so are you ready? Are you ready to be a man? Are you ready to be big and hairy and stinky? Dude, I'm becoming a guy. I'm not becoming a white guy. That was the culture of transitioning at that point. And as I watched my white guy buddy friends transition with all their hair sprouting everywhere, I'd be like, where is my hair? What's going to happen to this body of mine, right? And you know what? Bloop. 5 hairs on my knees. It's all I ever got. So passing was almost impossible, and as a result, I was treated like really, really poorly all the time. This happened for a good 7 years, and all the, what are you, I have no idea what to do with you, all the hatred, all the turning away, no IDs, none of that, right? And all the, what the hell do you say, what, you're a guy? What the hell is that? You're a girl, you're obviously a girl. How can you be a guy? 7 years of that crap, right? Humans not being nice to each other was all internalized. So I did end up trying to kill myself in 2009, and that was, I'm not going to tell that story because we don't have time. You can read more about it or whatever. You find out. This is a great time to find information anywhere. But one of the biggest things that came out of that incident, it was an awful evening. But I did wake up after hating myself for almost a decade, taking on everybody's hatred and systemized hatred. I hated me. I didn't come into the world hating me. But after hearing and believing everything else, I did that. But when I woke up the next morning, I did ask myself. My soul said, what do you want to do now? Do you want to be happy? Or do you want to suffer? Your choice. You can go home. If you want to, go. It's fine. I give you my blessings. Go home to your maker. But if you're going to stick around, have a freaking good time. And that has been the reason for everything in my life. And I ask myself this every single day. It is a question of curiosity. What do I choose to do today? Who am I going to be today? Am I going to have a good time? Because every day I give myself a clear reason to be here. Because if I am not, because I made that promise to myself 10 years and 1 month ago to this day, April 13th, 2009, I promised I will stick around for fun. I'm going to go grow and expand and teach and do all those wonderful things, but all of it has to be fun. Otherwise, I'm not going to be here anymore. Bye-bye. So that is my commitment every single day. And every day I wake up and I ask myself, I wonder, what's going to happen today? I wonder, how can I make it more awesome? I wonder, maybe today is the day I will get so pissed off I will want to go home. But I begin the day asking those questions so that then that realm of a whole new world actually starts to appear. That portal, I talked to you about that portal that showed up in the deja vu vision. That portal is actually there because I ask myself those questions to step in to a whole new world every single day. Your world can be just as awesome. Our worlds can all be awesome. And en masse, when we live in that world, like we can all like transcend and move into what they always called like 5D awareness. That's actually right there. That portal of new worlds is right there when we ask, what is possible?